Yo. Back at you with a very short update, mainly because we've been crazy and with my business and everything, so I haven't really had time. It's also been kind of demoralizing. If you guys had been, if you look at this, there's been some dips down all the way to 25 where we were, I guess, a month and a half, 3 months ago. I think it's more than 2 months if I think about it. But but we were in the 25s down here in June. And that's, after I added the account. So before that we were less. But, to see those numbers again, so today's August 11 or 12, and just a few days ago, was pretty demoralizing. So this is one of those things where you just have to realize if you're making profit, you're making profit, and it's okay. So it's a lot easier to make a video when we're at an all-time high at 29K. So hopefully we stay here and we don't dip, because we have been up and down. And every day is crazy. Like, we'd hit that 29 and then it dropped all the way down here, So it's been a little nuts. But we've been tracking the profits. We're making money. It's just that we're fully invested in the market, and that brings us up and down. So, if you look at my underlyings, I do own SPY, and I'm actually planning to own a good amount just to keep that market gains. But it's never going to be a main part of my portfolio. My main portfolio is going to be the JEPs, specifically JEPQ, which I am reinvesting into. I added this instead of SCUD because even though it's not a huge dividend producer, it still has decent yields, but it's really about the growth. It's a good yield, it's a good growth, very low expense ratio. So I like it. I like the way it looks. I like the way it tracks, and it's cheap, $25. So might end up wheeling it. We'll see. But most of these are buy and hold forever. These are the dividends above AG. AG I'm treating like a wheel stock because it's sort of the way I'm owning and tracking silver is through AG. But I'm not wheeling anything above it right now. So Ulti is my main position for yields. I've barely lost any money on it, and I've just been raking in the cash every week. It pays me, I think the yield right now, I have over $3,600 invested, and the yield every week is pretty darn good. So you can see that if we just look at the dividends. It was a certain amount when we first started, and I bought a bunch when it dipped, and the yield is just coming up. So it's been pretty good. So we'll see if it holds at 60, or even goes up or whatever. It'll probably come down, but I'm not reinvesting that. I'm just taking that as profit. And that's every week. So per month, that's over 100 something. And I'm very happy with that. It seems like this is a really well-run ETF. And then YMAX is good too, but I'm not going to reinvest much anymore into it. I'm just going to take the cash and walk away. Same with YMAG. Another honorable mention for precious metals is this NEOS gold ETF. I'm not sure about it, but it's sort of a way to plant my cash for a minute, and it will track gold and silver as it goes up when the market has corrections or whatever in the news. So that is why the account's been going up and down. And then I wanted to update everything I'm doing is working. It's a little scary because the market does have pullbacks here and there. It just hasn't had a big crash really since I've made my last video anyway. I'm still doing silver because nothing else was really that good. So I'll make a bigger update later. I just wanted to go over my thoughts because I have a second right now. And the wheel is doing really well. My main underlyings continue to be AG and Silver, as well as CleanSpark. Oscar I'm still in, Tesla and MSTU. And then NetPower I'm not super big on, but it's been profitable. So MSTU, TSLL, Oscar. I was in Lemonade, but it went up so high. I made a good amount of profit, maybe a couple $100, but now I don't really want to sell puts because it's too high, and I'm going to wait on that. So a couple of my underlyings, they're just too good, and they go too high. So for the wheel, you kind of want things you either buy outright and then sell covered calls on, or you want something that goes up and down a lot. Like MSTU has gone up and down a lot. TSLL has gone up and down a lot, and that gives you a lot of volatility, while it still also gives you premiums, because when you get assigned, the price moves in the opposite direction, so it goes back and forth, so you always can make profit. So that's what I like. The VIX Hedge has been going really well. I've been profiting a lot off of SPX. I did have a bad, I think last video I showed the 3 iron condors that were very bad decision on my part, and I didn't get punished because I was able to roll the strikes. I was able to capture profits on one of them. I was able to close the other 2 for a small price, like $50, and then I was able to make money on the just going long. So for the S&P 500, especially right now, and they're going to be printing more and more money, interest rates are going to come down, you got to be along the S&Ps. Just got to be careful. So like most of my positions are really good in the S&P, like 60, 80, like this is 6,000. It's so low. So these longer term positions are really good. Here and here and here. I have shorter term positions like this one and this one that don't look so good, but they're short term. I'm trying to close them as soon as they hit 50% today or tomorrow. And the VIX is there to hedge just in case there's a drop. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the SPX and the VIX hedge has just been really good, and the wheel has been fun, and you kind of can't really lose, because when you get assigned, you just sell the other side, and eventually it comes back up. Just make sure you pick things that are at least decently good. So that's what I'm doing, and it's been working really well. There are bad days. There are a lot of bad days, actually, where you go down and you think you're just going down, from 29 at the high, and then you go all the way down to 26. But I never realized losses, so I just held on, and it came back up, and I was making profits this whole time. So that's kind of the frustrating thing, is sometimes with the method I use, because I'm fully invested and I'm using options on margin, because of the style, you move with the market, so you just have to have that tolerance. If you don't have that tolerance, you don't have to be invested in high dividend yields like I am. You could just buy T-bills, like SGov. You could just buy a ton of SGov and then use the margin based on that, but you're never going to lose money on the T-bills. So SGov is my favorite. I'll just go over that real quick. But you can see that, like, it barely moves a few cents. So it's always $100 plus cents. So you're never going to lose money. And then every month it spits out a dividend. So that's the most stable thing. If you're really risk averse, just put almost all your money into that, maybe 50%, and then use that margin to run options, and then put the other 50% in the S&P 500 or in some dividend yield like SCHD. Or personally, I would rather use something like JEPI and JEPQ, because they're high yield but they're relatively stable and they track the market. But that's what I would do, because you'll make, if you're using margin for options on the wheel and the hedge, you're making better than 3% per month. So you're hitting over 30% a year easily. So you're going to beat the markets. But at the same time, when the market's crazy like this, I can understand being afraid. So that's all I got for today. Haphazard video. Just wanted to check in, have a update, and show off that 29K situation. All right, y'all. Peace.